the international student, known as the Little Prince of the Violin, confesses on the violin downstairs in the girls' dormitory for a week at night. Because the international student comes from a prominent family background, even though the violin with added speakers is very noisy. But the school only symbolically drove away and did not completely stop it. Just before turning off the lights one night, international students began their violin confession again. The girls watching with peach blossoms in their eyes, the boys in the distance were filled with anger, and the teachers of the folk music department were helpless. When the entire campus was surrounded by noisy violins, Su Ming took out his suona. 10 years of playing the flute and 100 years of playing the xiao,A erhu can soar into the sky. 1,000-year-old pipa and 1,000-year-old zheng, only the suona shakes the heavens and earth. The suona playing in the night sky covers the violin of Western music. The prelude to the millennium ancient Chinese pronunciation began I am Su Ming, I am a suona maker. Feilu Novel Network reminds you that this novel and its characters are purely fictional. If there are any similarities, they are purely coincidental and should not be imitated. 001 Violin Confession causing public outrage. Seeking collection. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Starting season, early autumn night. Huaxia Academy of Arts, located in a dormitory in Building 3 for male students. Su Ming stood on the balcony, enjoying the rare comfort after evening self-study, contemplating the planning of the university. Suddenly, a less melodious violin sound suddenly rang out, interrupting Su Ming's thoughts. Oh my God. It's so noisy. Is this calf sick? Is it all over yet? Before Su Ming roast, a northeast man in the room could not stand it. Regarding this, Su Ming is also very helpless. In fact, he is not a person from this world. He has been traveling to this parallel world for 18 years. This world is not much different from the past, except for cultural and entertainment, which is slightly behind. Although the imagined golden finger never appeared, fortunately, Su Ming had a great love for ethnic musical instruments in his past life. In Su Ming's eyes, Chinese music, especially Chinese ethnic music, is a fascinating presence in both its artistic and cultural aspects. After crossing over, I also became a suona maker as I wished. While studying folk music such as suona in the town, Su Ming relied on a more mature mind than his peers and was admitted to the composition department of this school. The Dongbi buddy who spoke very straightforwardly just now is Su Ming's roommate, Elephant, and also a freshman in the composition department. In theory, after learning composition, one should not dislike music. Not to mention the violin, which is known as the world's 3 major instruments. But if a violin has been played continuously for over a week, and every day during the evening self-study break, and also added audio equipment, do you still think it's elegant and beautiful? Soon, another person in the dormitory spoke up. Elephant, do you think this person has a problem? He pulls every day. Even if he's not tired, our ears can't stand it. I was just about to write a song, and my inspiration was suddenly lost by the sound. The nickname for the speaker is Monkey. He is from the south and also belongs to the music department. There are only 3 people in Su Ming's dormitory. Monkeys from the south, elephants from the northeast, and him. Ming from the northwest. Su Ming has a completely different nickname for his art style than the 2 of them, because Su Ming's appearance is not as distinctive as the 2 of them. Su Ming's appearance is characterized by a rugged demeanor reminiscent of a high-altitude man, but it also carries a touch of elegance and bookishness. The 2 seemingly contradictory qualities in Su Ming are not at odds. Make Su Ming look more like a Confucian general with both literary and military skills. Of course, this was said by the monkey. The fact also proves that the monkey's comments are not wrong, and during military training, Su Ming was indeed the most beautiful guy in the class. Even at Huaxia Communication University, where there are countless handsome men and beautiful women, Su Ming's appearance and temperament are outstanding. The sound of the violin in the distance was still ringing, and the monkey covered its ears with a look of indifference. Elephant, do you think this is a disturbance to the people? I watched my aunt dance a square dance at home, but at least I saw an old man with stiff limbs, so I was happy. This guy has been playing the violin for over a week now, and my brain is buzzing as I play it. I feel like I have a shadow now. In the future, when I write songs, I will definitely not add the violin as an instrument. The elephant shrugged and said, of course this is considered a disturbance to the people. Listen, the boys' dormitory has already started cursing. During their conversation, the two also ran to the balcony. Sure enough, as the elephant said, whether it was the dormitory where Su Ming was or the dormitory across from him, the boys couldn't bear it and started cursing. RNM. Did you eat Mad Dog hangover? Stop pulling it. Hurry up and get out of here. Let's not let anyone sleep anymore. You live in the Triangle Cemetery. It's wicked. Are you in high spirits? Your grandfather's foreigner. Wipe, wipe, wipe. Big sobby. Do you have a serious illness? Can you help me resolve it for a while? The highly cultural curse made Su Ming couldn't help but laugh, and indeed, this person has successfully aroused public outrage. The elephant poked its head out and forgot about the distance. Hey, they pulled it over from the dormitory building of the third girl. It's useless to curse so loudly. Su Ming followed the elephant's gaze and looked into the distance. Sure enough, there was indeed a small circle of people gathered over there in the dormitory building of the number 1 girl. Not only that, but also a few faint sparks of fire can be faintly seen. In recent days, Su Ming also learned something from the roast of elephants and thin monkeys. But I didn't pay too much attention. After all, Su Ming learned how to arrange music, so he still has some understanding of the music in this world. To be honest, aside from the disturbing behavior of this person and the loss of sound caused by the sound system, Su Ming thinks that the performance level of this violin is quite top-notch. At the beginning, everyone's thoughts were similar to Su Ming's, and they also thought it sounded quite pleasant. But as it approached the time to turn off the lights, the sound of the violin continued, and it would sound every day afterwards, which made people extremely angry. Especially after knowing that the person who plays the violin is actually an Eagle Country international student from this school, and that he plays the violin to pursue the school's reputation. This group of boys is even more indignant. Today's song is called Sweet Dream, which sounds really sweet and touching. But as the saying goes, no matter how beautiful music is, it should be played in a suitable place. Playing like this every night, combined with the sound system, is really too noisy. Speaking of which, I haven't found a suitable place to practice suona these days. Suona, if you understand it, you will understand it. Before, when Su Ming practiced suona, he used to practice in the mountains and valleys on the high slopes of the Lus Plateau. It's just that the school has a better soundproof piano room. If not, Su Ming can play the suona in the dormitory or on the playground without using any sound system, as most schools may be able to hear it. Does this school not care about it? Su Ming asked in confusion as he thought of these things. P.S. Seeking collection, seeking flowers and flowers, Qingming outing in happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. 003 Only Suona Town Qiankun. Seeking collection. You are listening at novelfull.audio. What? The elephant and the monkey were taken aback, as they had not yet realized what Su Ming had said. Su Ming patiently explained, what if I could make his violin stop? Or maybe I can cover his voice with other voices. The elephant gently patted Su Ming's chest and said, don't make a fuss, didn't I tell you? Someone threw a thermos or even a wine bottle before, but the next day they were reported by the school. We new students just arrived at school and were punished just because of this bet. It's not worth it. Su Ming shook his head and said, "We won't be punished." Seeing Su Ming's serious expression, which didn't seem like he was joking, the elephant scratched its head and said, "It's no use complaining about the school. The security guard can only come through the scene." "No," Su Ming said again. "Are you and the principal relatives?" The monkey also joined in. Su Ming chuckled and said, "I'm just a child from a rural area with no background." "Well, if I can do it, you don't have to call me Dad either. Remember to keep it a secret for me, and in the future, you two should take care of things like fetching water, cleaning, and bringing food, okay?" In fact, Su Ming has never been a lazy person, and such a bet can be considered half a joke. And the most important reason he decided to take action is because of the system just now. In simple terms, this system is about using popularity to exchange for some proficiency and repertoire in music. At present, only musical instruments are currently enabled in the system. And the proficiency and skills of the instruments were synchronized with what Su Ming had already learned. Su Ming's suona has reached level 8. This level is not comparable to the piano performance level in China. To put it this way, if Su Ming's suona reaches level 10, then he has already surpassed all suona masters in history in terms of performance level. Therefore, his current level 8 is also enough to hang everyone. Except for the suona at level 8, Su Ming previously only learned the erhu at level 7, while other instruments ranged from level 56. To upgrade the proficiency of an instrument or exchange its repertoire, you need to play the corresponding instrument to gain popularity. Just like a man getting a beloved toy, he can't help but try it out. So after obtaining the system, Su Ming couldn't wait to play that suona. So, now isn't it the best opportunity? The elephant and the monkey thought for a moment. They couldn't think of any way Su Ming could make that foreigner's damn piano sound stop. Perhaps all they can think of is the sound system. But not to mention that their dormitory doesn't have a sound system, even if they have one. It's clearly impossible to cover up the other person's voice as they are so far away from here. Their curiosity about this matter, coupled with what Su Ming said, means they don't have to call them Dad even if they lose. Under the double temptation, the two nodded and said, "Okay. We'll bet with you." Su Ming touched his nose and didn't speak anymore. Instead, he opened the lock on the cabinet and took out a large suitcase. This suitcase elephant has a certain impression. He remembers when Su Ming arrived at the dormitory, he brought 2 suitcases and a backpack. A backpack is a simple daily item, and there is also a small suitcase for clothes. And this large suitcase, which has been more than 10 days, has not been opened by Su Ming. And everyone's cabinet is not big. Su Ming locked this suitcase in the cabinet, which means that the things inside this suitcase must be valuable. Thinking of this, both the elephant and the monkey widened their eyes and stared intently at the large suitcase. The zipper of the suitcase was opened, and when the contents inside were exposed, their brains were not quite enough. Originally, inside the suitcase were quaint wooden boxes of all sizes, painted with vermilion paint, which looked like they had been around for some time. Su Ming first took out the largest box and then gently opened it. "I'll go." In an instant, these two people's brains were not enough. I saw various ethnic musical instruments in this box. They learn how to arrange music, although most instruments cannot be played, they still know each other. Zheng, erhu, bronze cymbal, zhudi, and so on. If you take a closer look, besides these 7 or 8 instruments, there are also some related tools. For example, the rosin for erhu, the membrane for flute, the copper foil for zheng. This is simply a small collection of ethnic musical instruments. Before the two of them could continue to be surprised, Su Ming took out a relatively small box and opened it again. Hiss. If the scene just now brought shock to both of them, then when this medium-sized box is opened, what it brings to both of them is unimaginable. Suona. A box of suona. A long and short pole was placed. A copper bowl of different sizes and colors was placed together. Various whistles, gas cards, and invaders have been added. The monkey counted a little and found that there were no fewer than 10 suona sticks in this box. Su Ming ignored the shock of the two and fiddled with the suona in the box while introducing it to them. This common suona is divided into 4 types. Large, medium, and small suona, and there is also a type called C flute. The smaller the suona, the higher the tuning. The suona, also known as Daganzi, has a length of 42.57 centimeters and a majestic and grand sound. It is often used to play large pieces of music. The Chinese suona is called the black pole, with a length of 32.40 centimeters and a melodious and gentle sound. It is often used for singing and dancing accompaniment. Xia suona, also known as sanzizi, has a stem length of 22.30 centimeters. The tone is ethereal and graceful, often used for solo. The final C flute has a stem length of less than 23 centimeters. The smallest one. But the pronunciation is majestic, soaring high into the sky. After speaking, Su Ming already had an extra assembled suona in his hand. That suona is very small, less than 20 centimeters to the touch. Su Ming continued, "This is just a C flute." At this moment, the monkeys and elephants squatting on the ground looked at Su Ming and then at the suona in his hand, feeling a bit confused. In the end, the monkey's mind became more vivid and thought of something. "Su Ming, aren't you studying arrangement? Why, you're still a suona player." At the same time, the elephant suddenly realized, "I'll go." "Su Ming, I understand. You probably don't want the suona to play that kid's violin." Su Ming picked up the whistle piece paired with the suona and put it in his mouth, with a satisfied smile on his face. He stood up gently, holding the suona in both hands, and said slowly. "There is an old saying in the folk of China. 10 years of playing the flute and 100 years of playing the xiao, erhu can soar into the sky. 1,000-year-old pipa and 1,000-year-old zheng, only the suona shakes the heavens and earth. Compared to movement, this suona has never been afraid of anyone. The yellow sand covering the high slopes of the Lus Plateau cannot conceal my suona sound, let alone a violin with added speakers." The elephant and the monkey looked at each other, feeling that Su Ming seemed to be his usual appearance at this moment. And this Su Ming, how could he be so handsome? Su Ming, holding a suona, took a few steps towards the balcony, then suddenly turned around and said slowly. "I am not a suona performer, I am a suona craftsman. Seeking flowers, collecting, requesting tickets, various requests, Qingming outing in happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. With a suona sound, the whole school is dumbfounded. Seeking collection. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The number 1 female dormitory is a dormitory on the 3rd floor. Ching, I think that little prince of the violin is quite good. He wants money and money, looks, family background and talent. Why don't you agree to him?" a girl with curly hair said while removing her makeup. "He has virtue, does he have a brain?" a cold female voice said slowly. The owner of the voice is a long-haired girl wearing a light blue improved dress and qipao. The girl's eyebrows are like those of a distant mountain, and her temperament is graceful. In this era of many artificial beauties, such a girl who walks out of a painting is indeed very fascinating. Putting down the book in her hand, she continued. "I don't know him, we've only met twice, and he just likes me. Furthermore, if a man expresses his love for a concubine and confesses in public, it may bring romantic surprises. But what if girls themselves don't like to be too ostentatious? Besides, I have clearly stated that I have no feelings for him. If it weren't for my own safety concerns, would have poured a basin of water directly. Every day, it's so noisy. Others think William is good, but I think he's just a scumbag, disgusting and arrogant. This girl is the object of Wang William's confession downstairs, which is Shu Qingqing. As she said, she explicitly refused when King William first confessed to her. And the first time she refused, Su Qingqing was quite polite. Unexpectedly, the next day, this person was holding a bunch of roses waiting for him next to the military training playground. This time, Su Qingqing was no longer polite and threw the flowers away, refusing without mercy. Unexpectedly, he still didn't give up. I don't know where I learned this terrible trick of lighting candles and playing the violin to confess. She usually likes to be quiet, but as a prominent figure in the school, Wang William has been rejected several times by herself. And I also became a news figure, and even some good people rated me as the freshman school flower. To be honest, she hates being pointed at while walking on the road, so the nickname of this school flower also troubles her a lot. To be honest, the first time I heard him play the violin, although it didn't match my heart's desire, at least I didn't feel nauseous. But later on, every day like this, she was afraid that others wouldn't hear her, so she added the sound system, which made it unbearable for her. This weather is already hot, and the dormitory only has fans. It's stuffy inside when the window is closed, but when the window is opened, others only need to endure the noise, and they also have to endure his occasional nauseating confession. So a few nights ago, I stepped on his stereo. What Su Qingqing didn't expect was that the other party wasn't angry with this move. Instead, some girls next to her scolded her for not knowing what to do and indulging in trying to get her. At that time, Su Qingqing's eyes widened and she reached out to slap the girls who admired foreign things before they finally calmed down. But after that, people began to use vulgar language on school forums. Su Qingqing simply ignored this disgusting guy and his supporters who were just like candy. Now I can only hope that this damn voice stops quickly. Now those who support and curse Wang William are full of malice towards themselves. It goes without saying that those who support Wang William naturally do not like themselves. And those who scold Wang William think it's because of themselves. This guy has been pulling all night. Therefore, as time went on, Su Qingqing became increasingly disgusted with that Wang William. But Wang William downstairs is not aware of it. In this school, perhaps he feels that no girl can resist his charm and romance. Especially girls from China. Family background, appearance, talent, and most importantly, being from Eagle country. Su Qingqing thought of these and sighed. The more I think about it, the more I feel like a female protagonist in a novel about a talented woman and a beautiful woman who is harassed by a scoundrel. Then, I wait for a peerless image to step on colorful auspicious clouds to beat the scoundrel and save myself. Standing up and talking doesn't hurt your back. If you like Wang, you don't want to be shameless. My family, Qingqing, doesn't like it. A round-faced little girl in the dormitory let out a cold snort, angrily scolding the hot-haired girl who had just spoken, and also interrupting Su Qingqing's thoughts. The round-faced little girl is Su Qingqing's best friend. Unlike the perm girl she talked to before, she also thinks that Wang William is too disgusting. For this reason, the round-faced little girl even gave Wang William a nickname, but Wang didn't want face. The girl with a perm is not easy to mess with either. She rolled her eyes at the round-faced girl and said, "Okay, okay. I'm meddling in my own business, okay. I'm being treated like a donkey's liver and lungs. I really don't understand. How beautiful their violin sounds, you just don't know how to appreciate it." After finishing her makeup, she stood up and walked to the balcony, ignoring the two people inside. Humph. The round-faced little girl stared at her back and rolled her eyes hard. The playful appearance amused Su Qingqing. The round-faced little girl picked up a book from Su Qingqing's desk and flipped through it while saying, "She and Wang Bu shamelessly need to pair up." After venting, she continued, "This king is shameless. He only leaves when the lights are almost turned off. I used to go to bed at 10 o'clock, but now when he's making noise at night, my mind is buzzing and I'm really annoyed." Su Qingqing remained silent. Having a close friend who cares about oneself can indeed make people happier. The round-faced little girl spoke and suddenly stopped, reciting sentences from the book. A graceful and graceful lady, a friend of the Qin and Se. A diverse variety of vegetables, left and right. A graceful and graceful lady, accompanied by the music of bells and drums. After reading it, she nodded her chin and said, "Is the Qin in this book of songs the one that Wang shamelessly plays?" Shu Qingqing pretended to be angry and snatched the book of songs from her hand. "What I like is the Qin, Se, bell, and drum in China. Ritual and music are the key to success. As you said, Wang shamelessly plays the violin well. What's the use without etiquette? That's also why I don't like foreign music, but rather prefer our relationship with Chinese music." The round-faced little girl chuckled and said, "So, if you meet someone who confesses their love by playing the guqin in a bamboo tower, won't you be tempted?" Shu Qingqing's autumn water eyes smiled into a pair of crescent moons. Those who truly understand Chinese music will definitely express their feelings implicitly. And Chinese. Speaking of which, the violin outside the window paused and a fluent Chinese sentence came out, "Shu Qingqing, my goddess, be my girlfriend." Shu Qingqing's good mood disappeared instantly. Then, the paused violin rang again, accompanied by screams and applause. 1 minute later, Shu Qingqing listened to the tormenting sound of the romantic and sweet violin, covering her smooth forehead and saying, "This person is really sick." Just at this moment. Ga. Suddenly, a loud and sharp strange sound pierced through the night sky. The high pitch and volume completely covered the sound of the violin downstairs. It's strange because the sound is somewhat like the chirping of birds, some like the chirping of pigs, and some like the sound of some musical instrument. Not only not terrifying, but also carrying an indescribable playful humor and celebration. The round-faced little girl was foolish and said, "What the hell?" Shu Qingqing was foolish. This is. Wilhelm downstairs was also foolish. What the foo *k. The violin slowed down half a beat. The old man wearing glasses who had just walked past the women's dormitory building was also foolish. This is. Suona. The monkeys and elephants behind Su Ming are even dumber. Is this the rogue in the musical instrument? This instrument is a bit unreasonable. New books are not easy, seeking data, seeking flowers, seeking collections, seeking monthly tickets, all kinds of requests, Qingming outing in happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. 007 continues tomorrow. I want to use the violin to make everyone. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In this way, Wilhelm naturally couldn't play the violin anymore. To be honest, under such a chorus, the sound of the suona is still very clear. These two sounds combined, even if Wilhelm continued to play the piano, he could not hear any sound. He grew up in Eagle country from a young age and only came to China after he was over 10 years old. Whether in the Eagle Kingdom or in China, he has always been the presence of the stars and the moon. On the road, others would often glance at him, and he was also admired by girls at school. On stage, he was even hailed as the little prince of the violin. But now, these Chinese people actually tell themselves that fairy tales are all lies, and I can't be your prince. Such sarcastic words, coupled with the noisy and rogue-like garbage instruments, and the Chinese girl who has never agreed to confess. Part-time job is about slapping oneself in the face. Gentlemen. Gentlemen. Gentleman Wilhelm took a deep breath and told himself to maintain his gentlemanly demeanor. He was a nobleman and different from these Chinese people. Ha ha ha. This guy is so breathless, he's feeling dizzy, Suddenly, a voice came from the crowd. Gentlemen, damn it. Wilhelm, who was humiliated for the first time, instantly broke through the defense. With a bang. The next moment, the violin in his hand was violently thrown to the ground, and then he turned his head and left. Leaving only the buzzing sound of the speakers, the supporters who looked at him in confusion, as well as other happier students. The sound of suona continues. The dormitory building where Su Ming is located, as well as the mischievous boy from the opposite dormitory building, were even happier to see this scene. So I also changed the lyrics. It said that my old pig is fat and has a big belly, big ears bring good fortune. Old pig, I am overjoyed today, carrying my new wife on my back, sing while walking, sing one by one. In the girls' dormitory, the chubby-faced girl is already rolling on the bed. Oh my goodness, why are these people so talented? I can't do it anymore, I'm laughing so hard. The female protagonist Xu Qingqing, who was confessed but never appeared, also smiled. She already had that image in her mind, the fat-headed and big-eared Zhu Beiji carrying his beautiful wife on his back, beautiful as a pig's head. No, Zhu Beiji is actually a pig's head. She thought of her previous fantasies again. If I am really entangled by mischief, then the one who saved me is Zhu Beiji. The choir outside is becoming increasingly cheerful and festive. After leaving Galea's Wang, what a beautiful journey, cry, madam, listen to me speak, speak. Pooh! Men are all virtuous, and even women speak shamelessly. Although she roast in her heart, she laughed without fear. Anyone who can play such a cute, cheerful, and festive suona must have seen many happy things. Being able to play the suona so well and with such infectious power should be a teacher. Can he really be someone who looks like Zhu Beiji, has a big belly, and is silly and silly? After the start of school, Xu Qingqing developed such a great curiosity about a stranger for the first time. They say my old pig is fat and chubby, and you have more weight than me, like a mountain pressing on my body, pressing on my body. Old pig, I am so tired that I sweat profusely and my feet tremble and shake, fall on this road, big road oh my. Boys are so good at manipulating things. Not only singing but also dubbing along. The playful and high-pitched suona, accompanied by a choir of mischievous boys, enveloped the entire school in a lively and festive atmosphere. Downstairs in the girls' dormitory, Wang William's companions quickly helped their big brother tidy up the sound system and violin. A few people held on to these devices and violins and chased after their own big brother in the distance. After being disturbed by Wang William's violin for so long, someone finally took action to teach him a lesson today. Are foreigners amazing? Western musical instruments are amazing. No matter what kind of instrument you are, the queen of violin, my instrument, the rogue suona, just makes you obediently clip your tail and run away. Most students who feel nauseous feel that it has been too long since they were so happy. Madam, you grin and show your true face to me, so the new daughter.in.law is in that monkey head costume. My old pig carrying his wife, has become ugly, now, oh ugly, oh my. Suona and the boys who sang this song had a very harmonious voice and stopped at the same time. But it seems that the carnival in the entire dormitory building area has just begun. However, at this point, everyone only knows that today's protagonist, this suona, comes from dormitory building 3. Bull. Brother from dormitory building 3. Kneel down. Cowhide, another section. Good job as a reward. The hero left his dormitory number, and I'll give you my sister. Dude, it's so beautiful. Boss, can you show up and let me wait to see your respect? That's amazing. You'll be our boss from now on. That little girl named Xu Qingqing, our boss helped you get rid of the foreigners. Why don't you make a promise? Well, the last sentence was shouted by the elephant. And the girl dormitory needs to be much more reserved. Although they don't shout like boys, they are all so happy that they have no image to show. At the same time, more people are leaning out of the balcony with their phones, hoping to see the real face of that big shot. Xu Qingqing couldn't help but laugh and cry when she heard these people talking nonsense. Indeed, this Zhu Beiji, can also be considered a hero saving the beauty. I didn't expect him to be a student. Dormitory building 3 well, I made a note of it. However, to everyone's disappointment, after playing this section, there was no further movement in the suona. Until the staff in charge of managing the dormitory ran downstairs and shouted with a loudspeaker, "Stop making noise. Rest now." The students got used to it this time and said, "Fuck your grandfather. Your foreign grandfather sawed wood for a week, why didn't you say anything?" The teacher knew he was in the wrong, and even after being scolded, he could only grit his head and retort, "That's playing. It's art. I can go with you. Our suona is not a performance, it's not an art. That's right, we sing, it's also art. Double beep, I'll smash you to death with a thermos. You. Go to bed now. If you don't study hard, do those useless things every day." Seeing that he seemed to have offended everyone, the manager muttered a few times before finally leaving obediently. "Big brother, which dormitory is it from? Where's my big brother?" The dormitory area was accompanied by laughter from everyone, and there were also boys shouting. At this moment, a thick northeastern voice in the dormitory of the third boy said, "Your big brother is going to sleep here. Everyone, please step down." The person who said this is naturally Su Ming's roommate, the elephant. After playing the suona, Su Ming waved his hand to the two of them and then signaled that he didn't want others to know his identity. Although they were puzzled, they still followed Su Ming's advice and did not cause any trouble. But when such a great deity appeared in his own dormitory, the elephant couldn't hold back and struggled for a while before finally coming up with the final sentence. As the Northeast Han said, "It seems that this suona player is really asleep." As it approached the time of turning off the lights, the school slowly regained its composure. Wilhelm, who had already left the scene, covered his ears and gritted his teeth. He couldn't figure out how this strange instrument managed to make these Chinese students feel like they had been beaten with chicken blood, so happy and so high. He would be surprised if the instrument could make such a sound, but he could accept it. What he can't accept is that even though he plays the violin so beautifully, he can only move some girls. And that strange instrument, with an unpleasant sound, how could it make the whole school so excited? And then come to hate yourself so joyfully. At this moment, several attendants of Wilhelm followed up with broken violins and speakers. There are about 7 or 8 boys, among whom there are international students like William Wang, as well as Chinese students. But without exception, they usually respect Wilhelm. William led them to eat, drink, and have fun, and they worked as attendants for William, which was considered mutually beneficial. At this moment, William's gaze fell on the face of a thin little boy and he waved to him. "Wang Wei. You are from China and you also learn Western music. Do you know what that instrument is called?" The boy named Wang Wei nodded and bowed, rubbing his hands like a fly eating feces. "William, that's suona." "Suona." William remembered. He studied violin, but he also stayed in China on and off for a period of time. Although suona may seem unfamiliar to him, it is not the first time he has heard it. Let's put it this way, his understanding of suona is like that of the Western blues harmonica that the Chinese have heard of, but not as well. Anyway, I know this is a niche folk instrument from China. Wilhelm doesn't know, but Wang Wei, a native Chinese, knows too much about suona. To be honest, when the suona instrument is played, it either brings great sorrow or joy. You are really seeking death when competing with this instrument on the violin. Of course, he dare not directly say this to his own brother William, as the money he usually spends is his own. After thinking for a moment, his tone softened a bit and he said, "Brother William, I think we should either stop confessing. We're almost causing public outrage. This suona is the rogue among the instruments, and your violin is the instrument queen among the world's 3 major instruments. This suona is not on the table in our country, it's all used for fun in rural areas. Shit. This Wang Wei didn't say it was okay, but as soon as he said it, it immediately ignited Wang William's self-esteem. Now that the damn suona sound is gone, Wang Wilhelm has also recovered from being hit by the suona. If I really don't want to continue confessing, doesn't that mean I've given up to this Chinese person who plays suona? I am a nobleman. It's a descendant of the royal family. Now even my own followers look down on me, such things are absolutely not allowed. So he reignited his fighting spirit. Tomorrow I have to continue driving my sports car, and I don't believe any Chinese girls won't be interested. When I play tomorrow, you guys keep an eye on dormitory number 3 and I want to find that bastard. Isn't this broken suona lively and festive? What are the characteristics of my violin? Deep, delicate, mellow, and melancholic. Tomorrow, I will play the saddest confession song with a better sound system. I will make the whole audience move and cry along with the sound of my chin. How can I pick up that suona upon hearing these words? Wang Weiren was foolish. Compared to suona, sad, hissing, are you afraid you're looking for death? After thinking for a moment, I politely reminded him. William, I can't do it. You may not be very familiar with suona. There is a saying in China that goes like this. Wang Wilhelm glared and interrupted him with a loud roar, are you teaching me how to do things? Even you think my violin is not as good as China's broken suona? Wang Wei quickly lowered his head and said, I dare not. I'm sorry, big brother. Tomorrow, do as I said. Be sure to find this bastard for me. With that, Wang William left without looking back. The remaining Wang Wei stared at Wang Wilhelm's back from behind, fiercely cursing his big brother in a low voice. With the sound of the suona, the cloth is covered, and the whole village is waiting for the dishes to be served. Walking and lifting, followed by a white scene. As soon as the coffin is lifted and the earth is buried, relatives and friends cry, and from then on, the world will never come again. In front of the suona, I feel sad, sad that you are spicy across the waves. Tomorrow, wait for the suona to send you away. Su Ming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. 005 Ultra High Difficulty Performance, suona mimics pig calls. You are listening at novel.Audio. The reason why monkeys and elephants make such sighs is that Su Ming's suona on the balcony completely subverts their previous understanding. They are freshmen in the composition department. The arrangement major is also a major for art candidates, which means that they not only need to complete professional courses, but also need to learn certain music theory knowledge. Although in China, compared to well-known Western instruments such as pianos and guitars, ethnic instruments are relatively niche. But after all, it has been understood that whether elephants or monkeys, they are not musical instrument novices. Everyone knows that suona has a high voice and penetrating power, but can you believe it's so high? I don't know if it's their illusion, but they always feel that Su Ming's suona is coming out, and the whole school is echoing the sound of his suona in his hand. They all know that the sound of suona is quite unique. Suona is pronounced using whistles, and the subtle movements of the tongue in the mouth determine that suona has the characteristic of variable timbre. Even in folklore, there is a suona song that can mimic human speech. But even if it's constantly changing, they've never heard this kind of strange and brainwashing demonic sound of quack 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 quack. What's even more terrifying is that Wang William uses a high-power sound system, and you can make such a big noise with your dry blowing. Now, let alone their dormitories, I'm afraid the entire school only has the sound of this suona. As for what kind of violin, I can't hear it at all. This is a proper suspension, this is unreasonable suppression. The two of them looked at Su Ming with different eyes. Where are you, a suona craftsman? You are a humanoid sound wave attacker. After a series of loud, quacking sounds, the entire school entered a brief silence. Downstairs in the dormitory of the number 1 girl, Wang William, dressed in a white suit, was confused. If it weren't for the surprised look of people around him opening their mouths wide, he even suspected at one point that he had hallucinations. The sound just now seemed to have penetrated his ears without reason, and then in that moment, he forgot all the scores, rhythms, finger techniques, and archery. Buzz. The surroundings were so quiet that there was only a faint noise coming from the sound system. Gulu. Wang Wilhelm swallowed his saliva unconsciously. He didn't seem like a Chinese person had so much knowledge about suona. This brainwashing and magical sound even reminded him of the legendary corpse of a vampire who would climb up from the grave and suck human blood. Upstairs in the dormitory of the number 1 girl, Shu Qingqing and the round-faced girl looked at each other. They clearly saw surprise on each other's faces, indicating that a strange voice had indeed appeared just now. Because she has a better understanding of Chinese music, Shu Qingqing has a feeling that it should be a Chinese ethnic instrument. And it's a very anthropomorphic instrument. Shu Qingqing's mind was spinning rapidly. In fact, the biggest difference between Chinese ethnic instruments and Western instruments is that ethnic instruments are single line. It is more artistic than what Western music expresses. Folk music emphasizes the inner things, being subtle and natural, with delicate emotions, because most ethnic instruments used to come from the folk. Western music, on the other hand, has relatively open emotions and a music style mainly characterized by grandeur, because the earliest Western music came from their palaces and was elegant and luxurious. And the quack 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 sound just now actually sounded like laughing. But the smile was not eerie, on the contrary, it was very cute, cheerful, proud, and festive. There are ethnic instruments with the ability to express such timbre, such as erhu, suona, and bawu. But obviously, bawu and erhu don't have such high-pitched voices, so the answer comes out. Suona. Shu Qingqing blurted out. Suona. The round-faced little girl beside her couldn't help but feel uneasy. It's not that she belittles the suona, but in most people's minds, the very niche suona is hailed as a rogue among musical instruments and a representative of folk instruments. Even in many places before China, suona was needed for weddings and funerals. This makes people feel that suona is too tacky. Just now she talked to Shu Qingqing about qin, se, zheng, and gu, which were all elegant music. Suddenly, a suona appeared. It should be the suona. On the other hand, Shu Qingqing across from the round-faced little girl had an excited expression on her face, as if she didn't mind such a tacky instrument. To be honest, she didn't mean to belittle the suona, but the sudden appearance of the suona always made her feel a bit strange. It is undeniable that if the sound just now was really a suona, it can be said that a single suona directly confused Wang William, and indeed surpassed Wang William's violin. But how to say this feeling, in the heart of chubby-faced girls? Shu Qingqing is like a fairy. When harassed by a playboy, she originally wanted to fly out a heroic sword fairy to save the fairy. But a farmer carrying a hoe emerged. Actually, Shu Qingqing's mind was even more interesting. A female protagonist harassed by a scoundrel suddenly meets a bandit leader with a beard and a big axe on his face. He drove away the scoundrel without any reason, then carried himself and ran away. As she ran, she burst out laughing. Such a good girl, take her back and be the lady of the fortress. Pooh, what are you thinking randomly? Gu Qingqing blushed slightly and spat in secret. The saying goes that laymen watched the excitement, while laymen watched the tricks. The same goes for listening. Having walked to the front of Building 1, the chubby old man wearing glasses turned his head and stared blankly at the dormitory in Building 3, where the sound of suona was heard. The companion touched his arm and said, "Old Cheng, is it really a suona? Can a suona play this kind of tune?" The chubby old man smacked his lips and said, "Besides the suona, what other instrument can have such a loud voice? I'm so angry. If it weren't for someone who has played suona all their life, they wouldn't be so angry. What's even more impressive is that you didn't hear that the few quack quack sounds just now were not blown, they were sucked in, sucked. The tall and thin old man's brain is not enough. That's right, the chubby old man said firmly, the suona is pronounced with a whistle, and if you can blow it, you can naturally inhale it. This method is generally used to imitate special sounds and is not commonly used during performance. The person who plays the suona is not at an average high level. Upon hearing this, the skinny old man was dumbfounded and said, judging from where the sound occurred, it must have been blown by the students. Ignoring the skinny old man's words, the chubby old man continued to ask, what do you think the creak sound just now sounded like? The tall and thin old man was taken aback for a moment, but still replied, bird. Crow. Wrong. The chubby old man smiled, it's a pig barking. Pig. The chubby old man laughed heartily and said, yes, a happy pig, a chubby pig, a beautiful pig. The memory of the tall and thin old man is indeed one thing. Yeah. The quack sound just now was actually very cute and playful. It should be a bit eerie and terrifying to hear such a high-pitched and sharp voice, but it's not like that. The two of them were talking when the violin in the dormitory of the number 1 girl rang again. It seems that Wilhelm has regained his senses. The chubby old man half squinted his eyes and said mysteriously, actually, this Wilhelm does have some skills. The violin piece he plays is called Sweet Dreams. In terms of music alone, it is melodious and gentle, delicate and gentle, like singing softly until the bottom of my heart. Sweet, beautiful, and happy, it's really suitable for confession. The skinny old man nodded, indeed. If it weren't for the wrong time and place, this piece of music would still be very good. The chubby old man continued with a proud expression on his face, so guess what kind of music in China does it have that portrays a pig that is happy, playful, joyful, and to the extreme? The skinny old man was taken aback, then suddenly slapped his thigh. Haha. I got it. After speaking, he laughed and couldn't straighten up. Soon. It seems to have verified the speculations of these two old men. A suona song that is full of joy and celebration, once again resounding loudly. P.S. Guess what song it is? Can it instantly kill sweet dreams? Also, please ask for flowers and tickets. Thank you, dear ones. Su Ming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. 006 Suona Cantata, Wang Wilhelm's heart is broken. You are listening at novel.Full.audio. Seems to be deliberately competing with the violin sound coming from the speakers. At the moment when the violin started playing, the high-pitched and sharp voice rang out again. But this time, it's no longer a strange cry, but a melody. And this time, everyone finally distinguished what the sound was from. Zheng 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 zheng. Wilhelm is not doing well as a whole. Still completely covering my violin. I can't actually say that, after all, William Wang is standing next to the speaker at this moment. To be precise, the sound of this thing is too special, it seems to have a kind of magic. When its voice sounds, it seems that other voices can only become supporting role. And William Wang plays Sweet Dreams, which requires a romantic and intoxicated mood. But as soon as this melody sounded, William instantly broke through the defense. Magic. Funny. Go to the head. Disgusting. It's so noisy. Holly. Shit. So William, with a pale face, once again put down the violin on his shoulder and glared fiercely into the distance, trying to pull out this deliberately disruptive bastard. International students like William do not recognize this melody and the tone of this voice. Chinese people are not unfamiliar. Under the distant streetlight, the thin old man laughed so hard that tears were about to come out. Huh, truly a pig that is happy, joyful, and joyful to the extreme. Zhu Beiji carries his wife, can we not play the suona? This suona is too spiritual. Although the chubby old man next to him didn't laugh so exaggerated, the wrinkles on his face were also squeezed together. He listened to the cheerful sound of the suona and sighed. The song, Zhu Beiji carrying his wife actually comes from the Yu opera's Zhu Beiji carrying his wife. It is well known because it was slightly adapted and used in scenes from Journey to the West, such as, official title by Ma Wen, and, Zhu Beiji carrying his wife. With the sound of the suona, either great joy or great sorrow. No matter how sweet and happy your dream is there any celebration of Zhu Beiji carrying his wife? It seems that the person who plays the suona is not only at the level of a master, but also has a deep understanding of the suona. Folk music, not folk music, refers to Chinese ethnic music. Our own music has a warmth that blends into our bloodline. Why do so many people think Western music is better? Wilhelm has been blown away. But at the same time, almost everyone in the school was high. The entire campus is no longer filled with noisy violins, only with the exhilarating suona sound. On the side of the number 1 girls' dormitory, Chu Qingqing and the round-faced little girl are almost laughing and laughing. They never expected that this person would do such a thing and come up with a song called Zhu Beiji carrying his wife. Especially Chu Qingqing, who smiled for the first time without any ladylike image. Zhu Beiji carries his wife, what does this person think? Good guy, it turns out that the one who saved himself was not a bandit leader, but a Marshal Tianping. Not only the two of them, but also the girl standing on the balcony with a perm couldn't help but laugh. I can't do it. I'm so happy, Wang Wilhelm is foolish. Oh my god, our Chinese suona is too top-notch. Perhaps many times it's not that they lack confidence in Chinese culture, but rather that this confidence is not so evident at the same time. Many girls have started coming to the balcony, zooming in on their phones and then targeting the quirky-looking violin prince downstairs. Tomorrow is the perfect campus headline. It's really a suona. Sure enough, once this instrument comes out, there won't be anything else to do with it. Wilhelm had a look of eating dog poop. Wilhelm said that he couldn't control himself anymore. Chinese people do not speak of martial arts ethics and use suona to ambush me. The suona in the distance has been playing, making every pore on the body of those who have been tormented by Wang Wilhelm's violin feel 100 times more comfortable. Compared to the female dormitory, the male dormitory is much simpler and more rough. I'll go. Brother Nyo Pai. Keep going and send the foreigners away. Tell this kid, when the suona rings, parents raise it for free. How magnificent my folk music is. Brother, you did a great job. Louder than the sound, my suona has never been afraid of anyone. Nyopi. Breaking sound. Brother, which dormitory deity is it? Let's take a look. Elephants and monkeys are even more amazing. Don't miss them. Su Ming didn't want to be so high profile, so he deliberately took a few steps back from the balcony while blowing. In this way, it is impossible to see which dormitory is playing the suona outside. But elephants and monkeys can see it. They look at Su Ming holding the suona high and listen to the shouts of so many people outside. Both of them seem to kneel for Su Ming. Bull beer. Violin player, get out of here. Don't embarrass yourself, my brother's suona hasn't used a sound system yet. Stop pulling, even carpenters who saw wood can pull better than you. The song of Zhu Beiji carrying his wife is not long, just a short section. But this person keeps blowing back and forth. The more he blows, the more energetic he becomes, and the more he blows, the higher he becomes. Wilhelm's face turned ugly as he listened to various curses in the distance, and some girls around him who liked Grandpa Sheep were even more resentful of his male god. It's really unpleasant. Who played the suona? It's not as earthy as the soil. I'm so nauseous, can you please don't disturb my male god's violin? Wilhelm, come on, we will always support you. William's violin is the queen of musical instruments, and this suona is nothing more than a rogue among the instruments. In addition to the girls around him, Wang William's companions who usually play demons together are also giving him encouragement. Wang. Don't be affected, come on. William, this is the suona, the most authentic instrument in China. Keep pulling. We have a sound system. Upon hearing others cheering him up, Wang William forced out a warm smile. Although he didn't understand why just one piece of music could drive so many people crazy, he felt that the girls around him were right. This instrument is too crude, it's just a rogue. Rogue. The more so, the more I need to continue to maintain my gentlemanly demeanor. With his own charm, he can definitely get that Oriental girl who looks like a fairy. After all, he firmly believes that no Chinese girl can resist his charm. She must just be shy. With these thoughts in mind, Wang William once again set the bow on the strings and continued to play the song, Sweet Dream. In order to make himself more focused, he began to whisper the eponymous piece of this famous violin piece in his heart. You made me a star, so please always protect me. I will tell you that I love you. However, the instrument called suona has a loud voice. Although the sound system is right next to me, the ethereal sound is too unreasonable. As it rushed into my ears, it also drove away the sound of my violin. Make it impossible for oneself to completely calm down. Despite this, Wang Wilhelm continued to pull the strings of the piano, relying on his muscle memory, as if competing. And the boys' dormitory was shouting and shouting, when suddenly someone realized something and started shouting loudly. You're crying, tell me. Well, this is a meme, to be precise. It was once used as the lyrics for a classic Chinese pop song called Fairy Tale. It is placed in the song of Zhu Beiji carrying his wife, also known as Zhu Beiji carrying his wife version Fairy Tale. The mixture of the two produced a very wonderful artistic reaction. This coordination is too catchy, and most young people in China can sing it. So after one boy yelled, the other boy also realized and started yelling along. One person, two people, three people, one dormitory, two dormitories, three dormitories, one building, two buildings, three buildings, male dormitories, female dormitories. Like a virus infection, a few minutes later, a suona unexpectedly triggered a chorus of students in the dormitories of Huaxia Communication University. Those who could sing started roaring along. Wang William was still humming and pulling the exquisite violin in his hand. When we can get to the feeling parade, like Cinderella, living a happy and fulfilling life with Prince Charming, it is your heart that makes me believe in love, your guardianship. At the same time, the brainwashing sound of the choir, accompanied by the high-pitched suona sound, also reached his ears. You're crying, you're telling me. The things in fairy tales are all deceptive. I'm not your prince. Maybe you don't understand. After you said you love me, my sky is already bright. Light up, it's on, it's on, it's on, it's on. Although Wang Wilhelm doesn't understand suona or Zhu Beiji carrying his wife, he knows Chinese. As soon as such a chorus sounded, the corners of his mouth twitched. Zheng. Because the bow was too strong, the violin made a sawing noise. Wang William felt that the artistic atmosphere he had gradually cultivated after studying the violin for over a decade had been tarnished. In terms of the Chinese novels I have read, it is my own Tao heart. Broken. Seeking collection, seeking flowers, loving you all. First day grades are very important, and I hope everyone can support me. This book has a 1,000,000-word outline, so I won't cut it. Rest assured to watch. Su Ming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. The ritual and music of the 008 suona are like 100 birds facing the phoenix. Seeking collection. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Silence has returned to the campus. Two old men were strolling around the campus. The skinny old man handed his old friend a cigarette and said, "Old Cheng, thanks to us being on duty today, either we missed a good scene." I think this student who plays suona is not easy, as he can make the entire school's students play music. The chubby old man took the cigarette, lit it, and took a satisfied sip. There are all kinds of musical instruments, and the suona is the king. It's either ascending to heaven or worshipping the hall. Speaking of ethnic musical instruments in China, it should be said that among all the instruments, there is no suona that can better express human emotions than suona. When the suona is played, either it brings great joy or great sorrow. The skinny old man chuckled and said, "As you say, it's not unfair for the violin to lose to the suona." The chubby old man shook his head and said, "This is not due to the suona, it is due to Chinese culture and folk customs. It is because of the custom of playing the suona during weddings, funerals, and weddings in China that the suona is endowed with such characteristics. In theory, suona was also introduced to China from abroad. How did it ultimately become a national instrument of China? It's because this suona once permeated the etiquette of the Chinese people. Wedding, funerals, and weddings are the greatest rituals that ordinary people can experience. Etiquette and music, sincerity that follows heaven and earth, virtue of reaching gods, and prosperity of gods up and down. The Chinese suona is not only a musical instrument, but also a ceremonial vessel. Why can a suona make this group of students so happy and make you all laugh along? It's a culture that has been accumulated. Zhu Beiji is carrying his wife. If you want foreigners to listen to this song, they will definitely not be as happy as Chinese people. Why? Does he know who Zhu Beiji is? Does he know how Zhu Beiji feels when he carries his wife behind his back after hearing a lot from his companion? The chubby old man pursed his lips and said, "You're saying this one thing at a time. Can you explain why there are less than 100 Chinese students studying folk music in school? On the contrary, there are over 1,000 Chinese students studying Western music." The skinny old man sighed and said, "I don't know how fortunate I am when I am in the midst of good fortune. No matter how good my family is, I can't see it. Even if someone else's is not, they can still be a treasure. We don't know how the school treats international students and Chinese students. The old one is blind, do you still expect the young one to understand?" As soon as the chubby old man heard this, he quickly spoke up to remind him, "Be cautious, be cautious." At the same time, in order to shift the topic, he looked at the dormitory of Building 3 in the distance and said, "I said, old Cheng, the sound of the suona is from the side of Building 3 for male students. I remember all the male students from your folk music department are in Building 2, right? There were no students in the school who could play the suona to this level before, right? The chubby old man suddenly said, "That's really it. This is a new student." After speaking, he became anxious and said, No, I must bring such a good student over. There are many people who can play the suona well, but there are too few who can move others' emotions. With this student, I will compete for a spot in this year's Huaxia Musical Instrument Grand Prix. No, we need to get this child over here quickly. You have to help me with this matter." The skinny old man nodded and said, "As for our relationship, I'm familiar with the teacher from the admissions office. I'll come back and help you inquire." There is still a short time until the lights are turned off, and although the campus has returned to quietness, the dormitories are still discussing what just happened. On the side of Su Ming's dormitory, monkeys and elephants squatted on the ground, admiring Su Ming as he opened the small suona called High D and put it back in the box. The monkey stared at the small suona and exclaimed in amazement, "Ming, you are really excellent. The suona is really shaking the earth and mountains, and ghosts cry and wolves howl. I have also seen people playing suona, and it's the first time they've been able to make such a big noise with just 2 words. Take it easy." Su Ming temporarily put down his work and didn't worry about the popularity of the system's rewards. Instead, he smiled and said, "I told you before that I was a suona maker, and our suona team took the money from the musicians. Whether it's a happy event or a casual one, it takes a long and arduous journey. Sometimes it's too far away, on a mountain road of over 10 miles, your suona cannot fall into a village." The monkey looked puzzled and said, "So why bother exhausting people to death? They gave you money as a musician and wanted to make some noise. First of all, you are a suona craftsman, and the job you have to do is authentic. What is the difference between laziness and unscrupulous merchants? Secondly, there used to be many suona bands of all sizes in our area. They didn't work hard and didn't play well. Who would invite you? As for being exhausted, it's not that bad. When you make a name for yourself and the people in town recognize you, it will be different." After speaking, Su Ming continued to tidy up the boxes on the ground. But these two people hadn't heard enough yet. The elephant stared at Su Ming's box filled with suona makers and asked, "Ming, are you talking about 4 types of suona? Big, medium, small, and the sea flute in your hand?" Su Ming shook his head, knowing that without explaining clearly to these two people, they would not be able to let go of him. So he patiently said, "Not only that, but every place is different when there are more. There are also Hakka suona and Daju bamboo suona in the southwest. These are all relatively traditional suona, and with the development of musical instruments, a type of keyed suona has also been created. By the way, we also have a suona called Qiankun python over there. That is a super large suona, named after its thick and powerful structure resembling that of a python. 5 people are needed to play the sound. When playing the Qiankun python, 1 person needs to blow, 2 people need to lift it, and the other 2 people need to press the sound hole with their fingers. The coordination between them must be tacit, otherwise it will inevitably be a waste of previous efforts." The two of them looked at each other as they heard it. Before this, they had never known that there were so many categories and details of xiao suona. The elephant frowned and said, "This green mountain python is probably the most impressive suona." But Su Ming shook his head and took out the smallest antique box in the suitcase. "The suona inside is the most impressive," he said. The two of them widened their eyes and stared fixedly at the box. "Made of gold. The pattern is too small. I guess this is an ancient bronze artifact." In fact, through these few days of interaction, Su Ming, who has been a person of 2 generations, is confident that he has no problem seeing people. Both of these people have good personalities. Elephants are real, with the generosity and straightforwardness of Northeasterners. Although the monkey has been calculating a bit, it has nothing to say about itself and the elephant in the same dormitory. Therefore, Su Ming is willing to tell them so much and also willing to share his own story. Seeing the two of them so curious, Su Ming no longer pretended to be mysterious and gently opened the box. The elephant and monkey blinked and leaned in. After quickly seeing the most impressive suona, the two were disappointed. How to say this suona? It's slightly larger than the smallest sea flute and slightly smaller than the largest suona. It is neither a bronze object nor made of gold. It just looks like the years have passed, and the black copper bowls are a bit rusty. On the other hand, the vermilion suona pole looks very stylish. The two of them looked at the suona and looked up at Su Ming. His eyes were clearly saying, "This is it." Su Ming gently twisted the pole of the suona, his eyes filled with longing, and slowly said, "This suona is not particularly special, but in fact, it is also very special. When we are suona craftsmen, we often use large suona because the tone of the large suona is deep and grand. When it comes to red events, small suona or sea flute are used because their tone is high-pitched and lively. But there is a piece of music that is quite special, it can be considered both a red event and a white event. When we play this piece, we use this suona. Many suona tunes are divided into happy and sad, corresponding to red and white events, and the two of them know it. Just like Zhu Beiji carrying his wife, even if it's a piece of music for a happy occasion, because it's meant to be joyful. And the performance of the big guys in school has indeed proven this point. Similarly, when the suona plays by Shirchu, it is truly a sadness. Some people say that when the suona is played, the parents will raise it for free, which is the truth. But when it comes to songs that can be considered both red and white, the two of them are confused. What kind of music is this? Su Ming held the suona and his eyes were full of admiration. This suona can only be used to play one piece of music. Call 100 birds to the phoenix. The first day data of the new book is very important, and everyone is looking for data, so let's go. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. The suona at the 009 funeral must make the king of hell tremble with fear. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 100 birds flock to the phoenix. The two looked at each other. These 4 words are also an idiom, which used to refer to a ruler who is holy and wise, and the world is dependent on them. Later, it also metaphorically refers to those who have high moral standards and high expectations, and are favored by the people. But as for the melody, they seem to have a slight impression, but the specifics are not as clear. Seeing their confusion, Su Ming smiled. Because the development of entertainment in this parallel world is slightly worse than in the past, coupled with the niche ethnic musical instruments in China, although the two are professional in arranging music, it is understandable that they cannot understand. So he continued to explain. This is a classic suona song from the folk. Its predecessor was the accompaniment song of opera in the sedan chair. The song, like its literal meaning, tells the story of 100 birds paying homage to the gods and a phoenix bird. Upon hearing this, the monkey suddenly remembered something. I think I've seen someone playing on TV before. Yes, Su Ming nodded. The most essence of this piece is that it can imitate various bird calls, so it has 2 more versions. Some suona masters in China often play simplified versions, with a lively and festive tone. There are more than 10 imitations of bird calls. There is another way, which is to imitate 100 bird calls, and the music needs to be longer, grander, more sorrowful, and more powerful. The 2 people squatting on the ground were once again startled. 100 bird calls. Well, because the suona is made with whistles, the tongue and mouthpiece can make the suona sound versatile, and only the suona can imitate 100 bird calls. Su Ming continued to explain. When the monkey and elephant heard this, their eyes immediately lit up and they said, Ming Ming, can you? Su Ming nodded and shook his head. There are still a few bird calls that I can't imitate, so I think I know a little bit. The corners of their mouths twitched. Out of 100 bird calls, there are only a few that you don't know, which means you can at least imitate more than 90 species. Just a little bit more, it's definitely billions of dollars. The monkey's eyes twitched and suddenly spoke loudly, by the way. Ming Ming, if that Wilhelm plays the violin again, why don't you just sing 100 birds to the phoenix? Let's also let these foreigners open their eyes and see who still looks down on our Chinese music. Su Ming couldn't help but chuckle. After gently putting away the special small suona, he shook his head and said, with all kinds of instruments, suona is king. With the sound of the suona, there will be 10,000 taels of gold. With the sound of the suona, 100 birds will face the phoenix. This 100 birds facing the phoenix is a song that only sounds when truly respected people pass away. He doesn't deserve it. After speaking, Su Ming had already put the box into the cabinet and locked it again. However, the monkeys and elephants looked shocked, indicating that they had not heard enough of Su Ming's story about the suona craftsman. Tonight, the shock that Su Ming brought to them was too great. This is a peerless master who hides a hermit in his own dormitory. At the beginning of the school year, I just felt that Su Ming was different from others and dressed a bit too plainly. In this society, you have seen anyone still wearing old cloth shoes with black cloth and white soles, but unfortunately, such attire does not show any signs of poverty on Su Ming's body. Instead, it makes people feel that he has a kind of ethereal temperament. If it weren't for this, Su Ming wouldn't have enjoyed the most scrutiny from girls during military training. The later interactions in the dormitory also proved that Su Ming looked like a child from the mountains, low-key and simple in both life and daily life. Simply put, it means not spending much money. But that's how he has always been, neither humble nor arrogant. Fortunately, the monkey and the elephant did not look down on Su Ming because of this. Even the monkey, who loves to be meticulous and usually searches, would share with Su Ming the specialties he brought from his hometown. Although Su Ming refused, this was also one of the reasons why Su Ming had a good impression of these two roommates. At this time, it's usually time for everyone to wash up and prepare for bed. But the elephant and the monkey had no such intention at all, so they moved a small stool together. The elephant even took out a bottle of baijiu, a porcelain jar and a bag of peanuts from the cabinet. His burning gaze at Su Ming was clearly saying, "You have a story, I have wine. Come on, come on, come on, you two should also be punctual together." It's a celebration of Su Ming's killing of that foreigner and his portrayal of a brilliant glory for our 430 dormitory. The monkey pinched his nose when he smelled the taste of baijiu. He felt choked and could not drink baijiu at all. He quickly waved his hand and moved away with the stool. And Su Ming shook his head and refused. The elephant is very surprised. If you want to say that the temperament of a white-faced monkey can't drink baijiu, it's okay, but it looks tough and the skin is bronze. Ming, you can't drink baijiu. Su Ming smiled slightly and recalled the time when he was on the Lus Plateau. When we suona makers worked, we were all engaged in weddings, funerals, and weddings. People treat our suona craftsmen with great respect. In addition to giving money to musicians, they never stop smoking and drinking dim sum. I know how to drink alcohol and smoke, but I don't have much addiction. I don't usually play the suona during weddings, funerals, and weddings. I don't usually drink alcohol. After a pause, Su Ming could only continue as he looked at the two curious babies. Actually, not only do I know how to drink alcohol, but I also have a pretty good tolerance for alcohol. Especially at funerals, we suona makers drank a lot of wine. On the one hand, the northwest is windy and sandy, and playing the suona makes it easy for the throat to dry. People are accustomed to using wine to moisten their throats. Furthermore, my master once said that drinking wine and playing the suona will have a strong yang energy. The suona at the funeral is meant to bid farewell to the deceased. It must have a majestic presence, be covered by yellow sand, and make the Prince of Yen scared. Upon hearing this, the elephant unconsciously swallowed its saliva, and the story made one's whole body boil with excitement. He can even imagine that scene. Su Ming stood tall on the Lus slope filled with deep ditches and huge ravines. After drinking a few bowls of wine, he played the suona in his hand. Behind us is a mournful funeral procession dressed in mourning and mourning. Thinking of this, the elephant picked up the porcelain jar and took a strong sip of wine. In the future, I must write such a song for such a scene. The monkey next to him had a charming expression on his face, and he suddenly had an interesting idea, which he said along the way. Ming, just now Wang Wilhelm played a cheerful song, so you played a song about Zhu Beiji carrying his wife. If that Wang William played a sad tune tonight, wouldn't you have to play a funeral song and send him away? Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. 002, I can stop this cargo. Seeking collection. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Indeed, in Su Ming's opinion, whether it's lighting candles to confess or disturbing the public, it definitely affects the normal rest of students, and the school security office should take care of it. Guan. The monkey snorted coldly. He is a noble member of the Eagle Kingdom royal family and also the little prince of China's violin. To put it simply, he is a capable foreign master. This kind of thing, the school's security office will only turn a blind eye, and when the lights are about to turn off, symbolically drive them away. Upon hearing this, the elephant was equally indignant and fiercely patted the railing. A few days ago, the person in the opposite dormitory couldn't bear it and threw a few thermos bottles down to protest. The next day, they were notified. Saying that someone is performing is art, but we still warm the pot is disrupting order. Grandmate. Su Ming stopped speaking. The school security office treats foreigners like this, and why is it not treating Western musical instruments like this? Last year, in a list of the most popular musical instruments in China, 8 out of the top 10 were Western instruments. Among China's nearly 1,000 ethnic musical instruments, only 2 are on the list. Guitar first, piano second, harmonica third, violin fourth, drumming fifth. Behind them are ukulele, bass, guzheng, saxophone, erhu. As a suona maker, Su Ming did not apply for the folk music department, but instead applied for the composition department. It's because I promised the old man who played the suona all his life on the Lus Plateau. 3 years later, I want to make suona a part of this list. In Su Ming's mind, Chinese music is indeed a good thing, but if we only consume its emotions and emphasize that it is something left by our ancestors, it is difficult to truly pass it on. And Su Ming chose the composition department precisely to give it new vitality on the basis of inheriting his culture. The sound of the violin in the distance continued, accompanied by the flickering flames, making Su Ming feel a bit dazed. In fact, the first female dormitory building and the third male dormitory building are separated by a main road on campus, about 300 to 400 meters away. At this moment, the girls' dormitory is downstairs. A foreigner with blonde hair and blue eyes plays the violin on the shoulder of a passionate performer. The majority of girls are watching from the side. Actually, the elephant and the skinny monkey are right. It's not just the school security guards who don't dare to provoke him. There were many strong companions beside him, who had previously protested but were stopped by them. At this moment, some of the girls watching nearby were also full of peach blossoms in their eyes. Wilhelm, this is his Chinese name. Not only did he hold the royal status of the Eagle Kingdom, but he was also a beloved disciple of famous violinists Morgan and Darcy, and was crowned the little prince of the violin in China. In the eyes of these girls, he not only has a prominent family background, abundant talent, and handsome appearance, but also possesses the elegance and romance of a gentleman from the Eagle country. Who would a typical boy insist on confessing and courting a girl continuously for a week? It was also this confidence that led Wilhelm to voluntarily confess to the fairy-like girl. Because he was so popular in China, Wilhelm just felt that the girl named Qiankun was just thin-skinned, and as long as he persisted, he could get her. The onlookers occasionally heard waves of infatuated exclamations, making him feel that perseverance was more meaningful. The male god is also too infatuated. If it were a boy from China, he would immediately give up. He is from Eagle country, and have you noticed? He respects our Chinese culture very much and even learned to put a heart-shaped candle. I really don't know what's good about Qiankun, making him so obsessed. If he confessed to me, I probably would fall for it soon. Of course, many girls scoff at such voices. Isn't this person mentally ill? Qiankun doesn't even know how many times she has refused him, and she still comes to argue every day. It's really awkward to confess in public. Are foreigners so confident? After all, these people are a minority, and there are still more who can come and watch, supporting Wilhelm. They were immersed in his elegant and romantic violin, and even more so in his beauty and temperament. At this moment, 2 elderly people around 560 years old were walking on the road, looking at the scene before them. This road is a must-pass route for them to go to the parking lot after work at night. A short and chubby old man with glasses instinctively frowned. This international student is too high profile. The school doesn't oppose love, but it can't be like this either. Look at it now, it's already past 10 o'clock and no one is taking care of it. Not like words. Another tall and thin old man chuckled a few times and said, this international student is a precious gem in the orchestral music department. The Western Music Department still hopes that this international student will win a big prize for their department. Moreover, since he is a beloved disciple of Master Morgan and Master Darcy, what else can he do? Fortunately, I heard that the girl never accepted him, otherwise our school would really lose face. The chubby old man with glasses snorted coldly. Those old folks from the Western music genre are really getting blind the more they live. If I were a student of my folk music department, I wouldn't mind you being an international student. If you dare to do this, see how I handle it. The tall and thin old man turned his head to look at Wang Wilhelm behind him, patted the chubby old man's shoulder, and said, "Old Zheng, you take your folk music department too seriously. Do you have any foreign students in your folk music department? Chinese children born and raised here are all going to learn Western musical instruments. Don't be so confident, you know, humph." The chubby old man slapped away his companion's hand. Glancing at the boys' dormitory diagonally across from him. There are students from his folk music department living there. At this moment, as Wang Wilhelm played the violin to the high part, the sound grew louder and louder, and the angry protests of the boys over there also grew louder. But because it's too far away from here, the sound is not very loud. Get lost. Stop pulling. It sounds terrible. Asterisk 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 dot. Just thinking about it, everyone shouts themselves, how could it be louder than the sound of the other person's piano with sound support? Ah. The old man sighed, lowered his head, and quickened his pace, no longer speaking. At this moment, the enthusiasm of elephants and monkeys was also ignited in the dormitory where Su Ming was located. The two of them shouted together. It's so noisy. There's no end to it. Watma is getting annoyed to death. Yuan. Yuan%. Hashtag Yuan at hashtag Yuan% dot. Su Ming looked at the two roommates next to him who were almost crazy and shook his head gently. Ding. The national audio system has been successfully loaded. Introduction to system functions, please read carefully. Musical instrument function enabled. Musical instrument function loading. Reading host instrument proficiency, suona reading, erhu reading, xiao reading. Information synchronization in progress. Sync completed. Almost in an instant, Su Ming received the sudden surge of information in his mind. Afterwards, he did not show much ecstasy. And my roommate is still complaining. I can't stand it anymore, I'm going to hammer this guy to death. Come on, they have accomplices to protect them. If they dare to stand out, they will be punished by the school. Gone. Whoever can make this guy stop, let me call him Dad. Me too. Su Ming suddenly grinned at his two roommates who were shouting loudly, are you two telling the truth? Seeking flowers, collecting, monthly tickets, various requests, Qingming outing in happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. 013 Are you confessing or have you come to the grave? 3. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Quickly, a natural melody of erhu accompanied by a vivid rhythm flowed freely like a mountain spring. Let people start to feel happy without any reason in their hearts. This kind of joy has no deafening firecrackers, no intertwined banquets, like readers immersed in poetry in distant places, gently blessing each other and looking forward to the future with hope. The girl outside stared blankly at the simple boy wearing cloth shoes in the piano room, listening to a light and singing song, feeling that at this moment, the whole world had become quiet, comfortable, and harmonious. So, she unconsciously immersed herself in this song she had never heard before. It wasn't until the sound of the piano inside ended that she realized she had been eavesdropping for 3 minutes without realizing it. Suddenly, the boy in the piano room seemed to notice. This elegant and graceful girl hurriedly ran away before he turned his head, which avoided the embarrassment of being discovered. In the piano room, Su Ming, who had played for the first time after a good night, looked at the empty door with some doubts. Just now, after playing, I suddenly felt someone outside the door. Is it just my own illusion? The next moment, Su Ming found out that there was indeed someone listening to his own music. Because he received a prompt from the system after opening it, and the popularity of the erhu increased by 1. The addition of 1 this time did not achieve much. However, even if it was confirmed that someone was eavesdropping, Su Ming had no worries. To be honest, this one of the top 10 erhu famous songs from the past can be considered a precious night of Chinese music. Su Ming is eager for more people to learn. However, the difficulty of playing this piece is not high. The Good Night in the Past Life is a third-level track of the erhu, but if it can be played well, it is difficult. It is really difficult to figure out that kind of artistic conception. It is not easy for someone to play that kind of artistic conception. In the current system evaluation, Su Ming's suona is at level 8 and the erhu is at level 7. But because the system directly rewarded this song, Su Ming was able to fully express the artistic conception of this song. And the level of erhu at level 7 is enough to make this school proud. This feeling made Su Ming's heart boil with passion. 10 years of playing the flute and 100 years of playing the xiao.A erhu can soar into the sky. 1,000-year-old pipa and 1,000-year-old zheng, only the suona shakes the heavens and earth. This actually refers to the expressive power of erhu and suona, both of which are very outstanding in folk music. If the suona is known as a rogue among musical instruments, then the erhu, also known as the Eastern violin, can be called a scoundrel due to its unique tone. In addition, there is also a saying about the difficulty of folk music idioms. 10 years of playing the flute and 100 years of playing the flute, 1 erhu broke the waist. Playing the pipa for thousands of years and the zither for thousands of years, playing the small suona for a lifetime. The meaning is that it takes 10 years to play the flute well, and 100 years to play the xiao. As for the erhu, perhaps even if you practice until you break your waist, you cannot truly master it. Suona, 2. A suona is enough for you to spend a lifetime improving. Of course, the numbers in this proverb cannot be so accurate, but in fact, they only indicate the relative difficulty of these instruments in getting started. In fact, whether it's a flute or a xiao, it's also worth pondering and practicing for a lifetime. In his past life, Su Ming's favorite instrument was not only the suona, but also the erhu. In the music instrument ranking that Chinese people pay attention to, as mentioned by Su Ming earlier, the erhu is also one of the instruments on the list. It can be seen that in the hearts of Chinese people in this world, the attention and reputation of erhu are far higher than that of suona. Of course, this was also the case in previous lives. The popularity and fame of the erhu were thanks to several well-known Chinese songs. Imitating the roaring and majestic erhu famous song, Racing Horse, there is also an advanced version of Racing Horse, which is even more murderous. And the truly timeless masterpiece of the Chinese Symphony of Fate, the renowned island musician conductor once said upon hearing this piece that it should be listened to kneeling down. Indeed, many netizens who have loved folk music in their past lives have proudly said so. If suona needs to be listened to while lying down, then erhu needs to be listened to while kneeling. The reason behind it is because of the song, Two Springs Reflecting the Moon. With a single bow thrown, one is filled with resentment, and with a double string ringing, one's intestines are broken. The sound of the chin sobs, where can I tell? The cold moon reflects on the two springs at night. Similarly, in this world, these erhu songs no longer exist. In the following time, Su Ming began to try to play these erhu pieces according to his own memories. But soon, Su Ming declared failure. In fact, Su Ming had tried this before, but in his past life, he only had a passion for folk music and never remembered the true melody. But soon, Su Ming's eyes lit up again. Surprisingly, there is one in the system. In addition, Su Ming also found countless names of songs he had never heard before, and a large part of them do not exist in this world. However, the popularity required for exchanging these songs is a bit outrageous. The road is long and winding, and Su Ming feels that he still has a long way to go. In fact, the exchange of 100 birds for the phoenix is also in the system. The popularity required for this song is also the highest among many songs. The popularity of suona that Su Ming gained last night is not yet useful. But Su Ming did not intend to exchange this song, which features 100 birds facing the phoenix. Firstly, it's because I have already practiced almost enough and don't need to waste so much popularity. But the most important reason is that in China today, it is estimated that only oneself and one's master can play this piece of music with extraordinary significance. That is inheritance, and also the glory of suona craftsmen. In the following time, Su Ming began to become familiar with that beautiful night song. To be precise, it is using the song xiao to hone one's erhu skills. With a 100% understanding of the artistic conception of xiao, Su Ming's erhu level is quietly improving while playing. So, during the lunch break, Su Ming stayed in the piano room. Until he checked the time and found that there was still half an hour left until the afternoon class, Su Ming repackaged the erhu and left the piano room. As Su Ming passed by a piano room, the girl in a light blue dress seemed to have a feeling in her heart. She stopped practicing her pipa and turned her head. I happened to see Su Ming's fleeting figure. The girl stared at the glass on the door and hesitated for about a minute before regaining her senses. She put away her pipa and left the piano room. Along the way, this girl's turnaround rate can be said to be 100%. But she had long been accustomed to such a gaze and did not pay attention. At this moment, her mind was filled with the melody of the previous song and the unique temperament of that boy. Her department and Su Ming's composition are both vocal studies. But her major is music performance, but she is also very obsessed with Chinese culture and art. She likes the book of songs, song lyrics, pipa, and hanfu. The pipa is a musical instrument that she has been fond of since childhood, and her level is quite good. During her lunch break, because someone was sleeping in the dormitory and she liked to be quiet, she went to the piano room where she found out to practice playing the pipa. As a new student, she originally had a great longing for college life. But just a week ago, she began to feel the increasing attention of unfamiliar students around her, and more people were discussing herself on school forums. This makes her, who has always been fond of tranquility, very irritable and helpless. Until just hearing this erhu piece, she felt like she had rediscovered her long-lost good mood. Of course, some regret is that I didn't have the courage to ask the boy what this song is called. If you could hear about this erhu that hits your heart directly, then it would be perfect. I forgot to say, the reason why she is upset. It's because an annoying international student has been chasing her. Although she has never been in a relationship, she knows how exaggerated love at first sight is, and that international student really feels like a lunatic. She didn't have much fondness for foreigners, let alone an extremely arrogant and intellectually disabled person. She also found out to some extent that the international student was just a playboy like Playboy. Just because he was confessed by that guy holding a violin without any limits, he was called the school flower by people and even discussed every day. Suddenly, the girl named Shu Qingqing grinned without warning. I think of the boy who has a unique temperament when playing erhu again. What do you say about that kind of guy? He looks and exudes a bit like a scholar from ancient China, but not only does he lack a bit of softness, but it's also because of his bronze complexion and rugged lines on his face, which add a bit of roughness. These two seemingly contradictory characteristics are actually very harmonious in him. If you really want to say it, this kind of temperament may be more like the heroic spirit of being able to lift a pen and pacify the world, and being able to conquer the world with martial arts. Especially when he plays the erhu, it feels like he has a special kind of magic. Of course, Shu Qingqing also knew that the reason she had her own thoughts was because that song was too moving. Imagine, a girl who already looks good and plays a good pipa, would you be tempted? On the contrary, If a girl with a decent appearance makes a noise like playing cotton when playing her pipa, how would you feel? Hush. Shu Qingqing's face was more smiling. He had just roast that he would not fall in love at first sight, so he only saw this once, and the boy who heard him play the erhu suddenly had such a great liking and curiosity. Can it be considered love at first sight? This feeling is different from the person who played the suona last night. She just finds the boy playing the suona interesting, and is more curious and grateful about the zhu beiji in her heart. But for the boy just now, besides curiosity and affection, there is also a little admiration. Pooh, pooh, pooh. Soon, Shu Qingqing threw these thoughts out of her mind. I have always been very reserved, how could I suddenly have such a thought? What's wrong with this? Is it because that dead foreigner has been harassing me all along, that I have also begun to yearn for true love? Impossible. I won't fall in love in college. After clenching her small pink fist, Shu Qingqing gave herself a boost and walked into her dormitory with great pride, disregarding the gazes of others around her. After professional classes in the afternoon, Su Ming spent most of his time reading and studying until evening self-study. At the same time, Wang William's confession in the evening was also almost ready. Wang Wei and several Wang Wilhelm's little dogs worked tirelessly for almost a night. Late self-study is actually something that freshmen only attend when school starts. As for them, of course it doesn't matter. After Wang Wei saw the final product, he felt a strange feeling in his heart. A white rose symbolizing purity and nobility, a white candle, a white Lamborghini, a white suit, and a white violin. It seems no problem to take it out alone. But when put together, these foreigners didn't feel anything, but Wang Wei had an illusion. This doesn't seem like a confession, but rather it's like going to the grave, seeking data. We will add more full-time authors according to our commitment to abide by, with a large volume and full management. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th.